Hi there and welcome to our Driven podcast. Today we're going to be talking around public, private or hybrid cloud. You're with myself, Stephen Old, Cloud Sales Specialist Lead at Claranet, and I'm joined by
Ben Vickery, Product Manager on Hosted Business Unit.
Fantastic. So I guess the first question, the question we get asked the most by pretty much everyone I go see or people that are looking at what to do next is, should I go public, private? Should I buy some more tin? Do I go outsourced? If you get asked that, because I imagine you do, especially probably internally, what's your first answer?
Depends.
Yeah.
They could be anywhere on the journey. They could have a on-prem data center.
Mm-hmm.
The tin's getting old. They need to make a bit of expense in buying new hardware.
Yeah.
They may already have data center and offsite, so they're already kind of in private cloud by doing that. But they may have big dreams and want to go to public cloud. But the transition is immense, and the transformation for their platforms, for their software, for their data, to get to that final hurdle is a mile away from where they are today. Understanding your real estate is key to knowing where you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. Understanding how people are using it. So a lot of people I find have that idea of, I've got this many machines. And then they've got the business, and that's the IT view. And then they've got the business people saying, I use these applications.
Yeah.
But actually getting those married up, and someone kind of going, I know this machine gets used like this because it's got that app and these people are using it.
Yeah.
That's generally where I think it starts. So when people say private or public cloud, it's like I say, depends. And it really, for me, depends on the application and the people using it.
Yeah.
They start there.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure people listening to the podcast are fed up of me saying. But it is, in every conversation, it's the same idea. If we start with that, could you kind of give what you think a good example of someone that is well suited right now to private cloud?
Private cloud would be ideal for a company that's invested in a good IT infrastructure in-house. They've got the skills. They're running a VM platform, for example, and they realise that they've got to make an improvement to the hardware.
Yeah.
And they then need some help to move that information, move that data to a more resilient platform. They realise that there are companies out there that can help manage those platforms. They've invested in the hardware that runs those platforms, and they will continually invest in those platforms. You're taking away those operational expenses, those capital expenses, and putting them into a monthly support charge. Those are the ideal customers, I think. There is a lower level that you probably wouldn't because of the costs, but for us to transition it, a good VM platform is an ideal client for a private cloud.
Yeah, I think you remove a lot of those grey costs, right? That people kind of go, well, it's not costing me anything now. It's just my capex. Well, you've got maintenance, you've got the power, you've got the cooling. Yeah, it's those kind of bits that people forget. It's already being paid for. And to be honest, you've got people having to waste their time doing those bits, and it's kind of reviewing how it's going to free people up to be doing what they're meant to be doing. Yeah. In Competitive Edge that I was speaking with Pierre about on another podcast, we talked about how few people maybe understand their maintenance liabilities on their current on-premise infrastructure. I've heard people waiting for ADs for 3 months and things just to be able to do a test. That absolutely happens in private cloud, certainly in the old world. But that's really changing, isn't it? And a lot of the stuff that you've been doing.
Yeah.
On that.
Well, the platform is virtualized. So we have the hardware there. It's running the processing power necessary for the compute that it needs to carry on. Go back to basics. It is racked systems. It is core servers. It is databases.
So it's public cloud, right?
Yeah, exactly. It sits somewhere in San Francisco. Ours is in London, but it's being managed, it's being maintained, and it's running, and we're paying for it. We're putting a layer over it now to modernize and improve the way that you can run your clouds, your resource pools. Very easily and simply, we can create an area, a resource pool for a client, give them the necessary compute, storage and processor, and then allow them to flex that up or down, but create templates for machines within seconds, as you can, as public cloud constantly says about. Fire up a machine, build it in seconds. We can do that on our platform with the VMware platform we've got. Take a template, Windows platform, server 2012, database build, and networking, bang, done, ready.
And what's more is you can also customize the machine. So if you didn't want to use, you won't have a load of templates, but you've got something that's going to be.
We build the templates. We have a shop floor type version. Then we have one that's got backups, and we've got one that has updates. It's updated to the latest release. Then we've got one that's got antivirus on it. Then we've got one that we can remote onto and help fix if necessary. Yeah. We could have one that we build with the client that meets some of their requirements, and we create a model. They may have a database that expands regularly. We can have a standard build that we just keep adding to that. On a click of a button, we can deploy 10 to a standard build.
You decide. You've got that bit of extra control.
Absolutely. It's not a B1, 2S, D4 or whatever it is. You have to flick through your catalogue and make sure you've got the latest version. You have a resource pool that's a certain space, and it's yours to use, your farm to carve up, your allotment, if you like, to carve up the space that you need.
I like that. That's how I always describe it to people. I think it's in one of the podcasts, actually. Going back to what we were talking about earlier on people's transformation and where this kind of fits, what I've been speaking to people recently about is, when you look at public cloud, private cloud versus hybrid cloud as well, what are you trying to do? So I've been kind of trying to define this for a few people. And is it data center closures? Well, if it's data center closures, we know we're not going to have a hybrid model. Yeah. We do know that you're either going to go public or private, probably a mix.
Yes.
So it might be a hybrid model of those two, but you're not going to be having on-prem as well. I would say to people, keep your print servers on-prem. I say that all the time. There's no point moving your print servers to the cloud. Are you actually trying to simplify your environment? That's a whole different ballgame, right? You might have loads of apps, some of them doing the same thing, and you want to try to simplify it out. That's a different process, and that actually can be done separate to what you're doing. You might actually start buying some SaaS. You might start using some platforms as a service. You might move some bits into a more managed service and those kind of bits, and that will help you on an app-by-app level decide where it should go if it's simplification. Is it, some people had a SaaS PaaS before IaaS mentality recently. And that is a whole different ball game as to, again, it's app focused. The one I've come across recently, which is really interesting, and it makes a lot of sense to me, but I'd not thought of it myself, was risk-based. So actually, as your kit comes to a certain age, it starts ticking onto a risk register, and therefore you say, right, I've got this set here. It might be a ESXi host set, a cluster, and it's now 7 years old. 7 years old puts it in my red flag zone. Yeah. And actually, let's review what's in there. And if it's a load of Mode 1 apps, it's a load of stuff that doesn't really change, right, great. If we don't want to put the expense in, private cloud's a great idea. VMC on AWS is an idea as well. Those kind of pieces where we're actually removing that requirement and to look after kit and put it somewhere else. But what's nice about that approach is actually you, as it comes up, can be looking at each individual set and apps, and it makes it manageable.
Yeah, and we can literally fire up a resource pool on our private cloud, and then mirror with the customer's VM machines, VM area, and then simulate with a syncing system, and then make sure that they're synced and constantly running identically, and then test to the hilt, and then move across and take away and cut over.
I thought a couple of years ago, one of the things that was definitely going to remain in private cloud and wasn't going to be ready for public cloud for quite a few years was SAP because of the cost. What I've actually learned relatively recently is a lot of people are looking at moving SAP, which was, I thought, what? Why? Because you have to relatively use it in the way of a Mode 1 world. But with SAP, you've basically got to have a hardware that is supported. And so you're basically dictated to when you have to repurchase hardware. So you're not even in control of how long you sweat assets for, because you lose the support of SAP. SAP runs your entire business. You don't want to lose that. You've got to keep it patched and all this kind of thing. You can have all of that ignored by going into public cloud. But also, again, that's one of those things that you can get as part of a service in a private cloud world, where yes, you might need hardware for it, but you can have that sat in a data center with Claranet next to a resource pool. So you can still have that kind of specialist piece of kit. You don't have to worry about its upgrading, etc. That can be looked after for you, but you still get those benefits of having your resource pool in the same way you do in public cloud. I think that's the big thing for me. Public cloud, private cloud, the difference is shrinking. very quickly. Now, don't get me wrong, Claranet are not going to create a ground centre offering to be able to run satellites from a Claranet data centre.
No, exactly.
There's going to be those cases. But actually, for running pure IaaS, it can become as cost effective and more like what you're used to running.
Yeah, with little transition, little experience gain. And like we said earlier on, you're helping these companies on their journey to public cloud. We'll take the platform on, we'll analyse it, we'll continue that competitive edge analysis through that progression and make them realise that the systems and workloads that they're doing, we can work with them to amend those workloads so that they will fit with their preferred public cloud
And
platform.
sometimes it comes down to actually the product in public cloud that will make this thing make sense to move isn't there yet.
Yeah.
That's certainly happened for quite a few things I've seen recently.
Yeah.
But suddenly that's become available.
I've got a legacy archiving program that Warehouse is using that they've used for 10 years, and it does what they need it to do. It's not going to be supported on any of the public cloud platforms, but there's no reason for them to change using it, and they will use it for another 10 years.
Yeah. So, final thoughts, going through what we've talked about.
Yeah.
Anything changed, or you still think it depends?
It does depend, and we've the amount of things we've talked about, it highlights all the factors necessary. It's not a simple move to public cloud. Private cloud will help you on that way, but most companies will be looking to move away from on-prem hardware, and it's a step along that journey, and we can work with them on that.
Fantastic. I entirely agree. If it's the right application to go public cloud, all for that. I think there is nothing more damaging in your transformational journey than choosing some applications that aren't fit to go in public cloud, putting them there, and then kind of going, oh, look at this success. Oh, it doesn't run any better, but it costs more. Yeah. No one's going to be a winner there, so it's picking the right place for the right thing. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for joining us and listening in, and we hope to see you next time.